I am absolutely dumbfounded. I'm astonished. I'm heartbroken. I feel like my dome just got hobknocked 100 times and it didn't feel good. Mushroom stamped right on my cheek. And listen, this is going to be a critical video if you can't already tell, but I don't want to take away, if you experienced this game and you enjoyed it, feel free to enjoy what you enjoy. I'm not trying to take away your enjoyment, but this is my experience. But Bethesda, what were you thinking? You had an entire year to release this DLC. For Fallout 4, you released 2 DLCs that were both bigger and better in half the amount of time. We waited a year for this? There's only one thing they do better in this DLC than in the base game, and I will get to that, but right now we're going to talk about the bad, the worst, and the worst, because that is 95% of what this DLC brings to the table. Now, to start off, I want to talk about the core RPG tenets, okay? The core of an RPG. Your freedom to make choices and characters to react to the choices that you make in the game, as well as exploring a diverse landscape with a lot of different things to do. And on top of that, picking up different loot, picking up new armor, going through the game, adjusting your skills, all of this. This is the core to an RPG, but let's get started with the first of these things, which is the character relationships. The main character, Vareja, I don't even know how to say her name, bro. I genuinely don't ever say her name. But Vareja, we are going into her home world. There was a huge build-up to this in the base game. And when you get there, she acts like she's never seen this before in her life. She acts like all the decisions you make, even at the end of the entire expansion, when you're making a big decision, she has like 1 or 2 voice lines, and the game was bugged, so most people don't even hear those voice lines. It's like nothing happens in her brain when you're going to the house of Varun and trying to find them because they've been missing and this is her homeland. She should be the core centerpiece. She should be affected emotionally. She should be affected in so many ways. And she does not seem to care about anything. And if this is going to happen, at least give us new companions, new people to bring with us, with better personalities, with better voice lines, better dialogue, not this monotone shit we've been dealing with in Starfield since the beginning. But no, there's none of that. There's literally none of that. And going back to the other core RPG tenets with new abilities, new skills, you have pretty much none of that in this DLC. These are things they've brought to previous DLCs, staples in Bethesda DLCs previously, and none of that is here in the Starfield DLC. And that's not even to mention the loot. I felt like, now there is new weapons, there is new armor in this DLC. That is true, there is. However, I felt it wasn't worth it, and 90% of what I was finding was shit I had found in the main game. There wasn't enough here to where when I'm going around Varun... Guys, I'm going to have a breakdown. I'm going to have an absolute breakdown, bro. I did not find a lot of new weapons. I did not find a lot of new armor, and the things I did find weren't better than a lot of the stuff I had already picked up in the base game, and that was a huge bummer to me. I was excited to experience new weapons and new armor that were cool, that had different effects on them, and none of that really piqued my interest in this DLC at all. Now, on top of this, they did have points of interest when I'm looking at the map, and really quickly, I want to bring this up. They have a map. Oh my, they have a map? There's actually a map in the game now? Oh my god, thank the Lord. Thank you, Todd. Todd, thank you. You added a map in the game. Oh my god. So we have a map now. But when I open this map and I'm seeing points of interest to explore, I'm thinking, oh my god, bro, this is like Skyrim again with all of these really cool points of interest that I'm finding, and I'm going to go in there and I'm going to get cool-ass loot and discover a new quest. No. 90% of these points of interest were boring as hell. They were just boring. You go there, you kill a couple guys, move on. Oh, why, bro? Why? I was excited for this DLC to take me all of these different places and explore quests in all of these different areas in this new planet. But you know what we got? The whole story, the whole main story, and there are side stories. Not the best, but honestly, some of the side stories I genuinely did feel like were relatively sometimes better than the main stories. I don't want to spoil those for you. But going back to the main storyline, you are returning to the exact same 2 NPCs every single time. It is monotonous. You don't feel like you're going anywhere with the story because you're doing something, going back, return the quest. Doing something, going back, return the quest. This isn't an MMO. I shouldn't have to go back to my quest hub just to return something. Is that all we could think of? Why can't we have more dynamic questing and more dynamic gameplay in a single player RPG when you guys have done this well in the past? I don't understand. We waited a year for this. And why I'm so frustrated here is because Bethesda has proven to put out good DLCs, even for games people didn't overly love. Fallout 4, it was generally liked by the most amount of people. However, a lot of people could see signs of the game diminishing in quality from some of their previous games and the formula not being innovated upon over time. With this DLC, or at least with those DLCs, both DLCs that Nuka World and the Far Harbor DLC coming out within a year time of the initial Fallout 4 release were both, like I mentioned, bigger and better than this. They had new companions, they had so many new things that you could actually do and experience a great story, better story at least than this, and it improved upon the game in a ton of different aspects. They've done this with the Skyrim DLCs as well. The Skyrim DLCs were all great. So they've put out good DLCs. Even though everybody hated Fallout 76, everything they've done after the release of Fallout 76 has improved upon the game. Now, that's not saying much. It's not hard to improve upon an absolute disaster. However, they've always had DLCs, in my opinion, that have proved better than the original game. This is not necessarily the case with Starfield. Although I do think there are some good things with this Starfield DLC. I don't think a lot of people are talking enough about the good things. I'm not talking about enough about the good things because there is a ton of BS that they have done in this DLC. However, they did take at least 1 point of feedback. And that 1 point of feedback is an actual handcrafted, structured experience. And we have that here. But it feels like all the time they spent in the past creating this procedural world for the most part, they forgot how to do a actually fulfilling, handcrafted experience with this DLC. At the start, I was like, oh my god, we're actually going back to the old Bethesda. They handcrafted all of this for a single player, fulfilling ass, immersive experience. And when you actually start doing it, despite there not being all this procedural BS that they put in the game, it still felt like crap. It didn't feel as good, anywhere close to as good as the other experiences that they have brought us in the past. I don't want to say Bethesda's completely washed, but they're completely washed. They're completely washed. They have been rerun in the same washing machine over and over and over again for a decade at this point, and it is cooking me mentally because I want to go back to the old Bethesda games that were so damn good. I'm just going to go play the old ones instead, but I've already played them before. I want new experiences in brilliant, awesome Bethesda worlds with the world building that literally makes me want to go and stay up late at night and watch lore videos. That's what I want from the Bethesda. That's what they have proven to bring in the past. They can bring it again if they get their shit together, but maybe it's too far gone. A lot of people are telling me it's too far gone. It's probably too far gone. It just doesn't feel like Bethesda listened to any of our feedback other than let's make a handcrafted world. And when they did that, they didn't do it well. So all of the other feedback completely went to the wayside. The only two other things they added, obviously with the maps, they added that previously, but you also have the rover. But the rover, I mean, it should have been in at launch. All of this whole DLC feels like it was just already there at launch and they just unlocked it for us. Is that the case? Like, I genuinely feel like that's the case. That this was just an extension of the original game and all of our feedback went to the complete wayside. I want characters with dynamic emotions based on the consequences of the player's choices. I want the game to change based on the player's choices. What I do in the game, I want to actually matter. I want quest lines to go a completely different way depending on the choices that I make within the game. If you look at Baldur's Gate 3, they did this flawlessly. Everybody loved that game, and that was the main thing, the freedom of choice and for the whole world to react based on your choices. That's the biggest thing in an RPG. You can't roleplay if you don't have any of that freedom. So why not look at that and say, let's try to bring some of that into our game? I don't know. All in all, I was not impressed by this DLC. Despite it being a handcrafted experience, despite having maps, despite having the rover, they missed out on so many things that they have done well in previous DLCs, like new companions, new skills and abilities. They missed out on a lot of the shit with all of the new armor and everything. I don't feel like I was even finding the new stuff. I was just finding the old stuff, and everything that I found wasn't as good. I didn't talk about the new enemies, but the new enemies just teleport. There's really nothing different there. The world did look beautiful. I really liked what I saw in the world. The world looked absolutely beautiful. The use of the zero gravity, I thought that was really cool. There was a couple parts I was like, damn, this looks really cool. But just a little bit of flashes here and there of awesomeness is not going to take away from the 90% bad that this DLC brought. All in all, I'm just very disappointed by my experience with this DLC. I played it for like 10 to 15 hours probably. And once I was done, I don't even think I'm going to return for the next DLC. I really don't. And I got this one, I mean, I played it on Game Pass. I want to know what y'all think, though. I want to know what y'all think. Like this video if you like the video. Please comment down below what you guys thought about this DLC. Is it over for Bethesda? Was this the last nail in the coffin? They've consistently made good DLCs in the past, and now they have a bad DLC, and they consistently made pretty good games up until Fallout 4, and now they have made a bad game and a bad DLC. They're coupling it both with just an absolute mid experience. So what do you guys think about this, man? I really want to know what your guys' opinion of this DLC is. And then if you guys like this type of video, if you guys like these videos, anything around gaming, streaming, my clips, please subscribe to the channel. We have just hit 250 subscribers, I believe, 2 days ago. And that's something I never imagined. And I'm really appreciative of you guys. So thank you so much. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.